Southern California, and for the first time in my life, I did not understand God. Let me go back a little bit. I was born and raised in Eugene, Oregon. I was raised by my mother and my grandmother. In fact, I am my grandmother's namesake. Her name is Elliott, or her name was Elliott, and my name is Elliott. And you have to give a lot of credit to my father for letting his only son be named after his mother-in-law. That gives you an idea of how wonderful she was. And growing up, I knew that I was going to eventually become a Catholic priest. I have the fashion sense of one still. Those were the happiest times of my life. And then my mother met a man, and we moved to California, and things changed. And I couldn't understand why God would let that happen to me. And I was looking for answers. And so I went to the place where everybody goes when they're looking for answers. I went to the public library. And that is where I found the Brothers Karmazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. That is the book that caused me to study for 4 years and spend thousands of dollars on a comparative literature degree that I do not use at all. And if I were to talk about the importance of the Brothers Karmazov in its entirety, I'd be here all night. So I'm going to focus in on Book 5, Pro and Contra, Chapter 4, Rebellion. And this chapter involves Alyosha Karamazov. He is the youngest Karamazov brother. He is a novice in the Russian Orthodox Church, which means he is thinking about becoming a monk. He is studying under Father Zosima. He believes that people are fundamentally good. And the other character is Ivan Karamazov. He is cynical and hyper-intelligent, and in my mind, I think of him as Elliott and not Ivan. Switch out our names. And this chapter deals with the problem of evil. Is anybody here familiar with the problem of evil? You are?
Yeah.
Could you say it really quickly what it is?
Why is there evil in the world? Why would God allow it?
Exactly. Thank you so much. And so this is what he outlines in this chapter. And I'm going to give you a trigger warning right now. This is going to be dealing with child abuse. And it's going to get real dark, folks. So the first example that he gives is during a time of war, and the Turks are an invading army. And they're in a village, and they come across civilians, women with their children and with their babies. And so the Turks see the baby and laugh and smile and play and coo. And as the baby's getting excited and smiling and laughing, they take out a gun and they put it right in the baby's face. And as the baby reaches for the barrel of the gun, like it's some new toy, they pull the trigger, shooting the baby in its mother's arms. And what did they suffer for that, the Turks? Nothing. Not one bit. The next one involves two well-to-do Russian parents and their daughter. And the daughter does a minor offense, a very minor offense. And the parents beat her savagely and for a prolonged period of time. And they beat her until Ivan describes it as she becomes one human bruise. And they're not satisfied with that, so they lock her in the outhouse and keep her there overnight. And when they come to unleash her or unlock her the next morning, they see that she's soiled herself. And this just angers them again. And they take her excrement and they rub it on her body and her face and in her mouth put her back in the outhouse. And this is heartbreaking. Yvonne describes that she would beat against the door, screaming for "Dear God, dear God." So then the question is, did God hear that and just ignore it? And the final one involves serfdom. And serfdom, an American equivalent of serfdom, is indentured servitude. And this involves a great estate with over 1,000 serfs, and it's at the estate of a general. And one day, a little serf boy is skipping rocks, and this general loves hunting. And the boy skips a rock and hits the paw of the general's favorite hound. And he sees that his hound is lame. He goes, "What happened to my dog?" And they point to the little boy. And he goes, "Take him." So they take him, and they expose him to the elements, and they strip him naked. And the next morning, in that autumnal air, that chill, where he's naked in front of an enormous hunting party, and the serfs are watching, his mother's watching too. The boy, Yvonne describes as mad with fear, looks, and the general says, "Run him." And they run him, and the hounds pursue, and they rip him and rend him into pieces. And what was his punishment? They said that he was not fit to run his estate anymore, and so his wife ran his estate. That's what he suffered. Whereas the serf's mother, the little boy's mother, had to watch powerlessly. And that's the case that Yvonne made to Alyosha. And Yvonne asked Alyosha a question which I am now going to pose to you. Because when I read this, it felt like Yvonne was asking me. And so I'm going to ask you, please, to respond, if you can. No judgment, however you decide. This is the passion project for accepting. But here's the question. Let's say you were responsible for human destiny. It was within your power to control our future. And you could bring about paradise. You could end war and increase acceptance, and there would be a happiness that we have never known and probably never will again. The only condition is that you have to allow one innocent child to suffer and to be tortured, knowing that the perpetrator of this will never have to pay for it. Would you give eternal happiness for all of us on the back of that one child's pain? I'm going to give you a second to think about it. And I'd like to hear what you guys think.
Not without telling the child?
The child can't know.
No. That sucks.
How would that change? Would that change your opinion?
I don't know. Maybe I would choose a child that could handle that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. What type of child could handle that, do you think?
A child who's in touch with the rest of humanity, so their own body is not the most important body. That I don't know if that's possible, but yeah.
Oh, it's almost like Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone who suffers for everybody else.
And knows.
And knows.
And says, "I'll do this for you."
That is actually exactly what Alyosha said. That's really good. Thank you so much. Did I see someone's hand up? Anybody? Does someone want to raise their hand? Is everybody comfortable with this? Because we have Alyosha's response. I did not bet on that. Thank you so much.
I was just hoping that someone would be willing.
Right. No, I really.
they're not willing, then I'm still fine.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate that.
Hey, I got one for you.
Okay.
Okay, so in that moment where that child knows, it kind of becomes their choice, not yours. Is the sacrificing the other person, I think, that is the question that we have here, because that's putting the responsibility onto another person off of yourself, right?
Oh, that is, yeah.
Yeah, so if you could be that child, that would be best for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, that would be awesome, right?
Because then you can say, well, yeah, if I could give everybody happiness by suffering myself, then wow, how much can my body handle? Is it enough?
So then here's my follow-up. So you'd be more willing to be the martyr than the person that chooses a martyr?
Well, it would just feel more responsible. So, but are you asking me to be a disembodied God or
Right, yeah.
a human being?
But that changes the question.
Okay.
I mean,
What was the question?
Well, the question is, could you take someone else's life without them being aware of it? And that was the question, right?
Right.
In exchange for all of humanity's happiness.
Right, and so Alyosha,
So the Alyosha, equation changes the question,
right,
I think, or the response changes the question.
right. No, that's actually an excellent point. I never realized that before. I'm gonna have the next passion project I do, I'll talk about the passion project. No, that's actually really thought-provoking. I'm
Well, and I was raised Christian, so of course that would be my answer. I've been
Well, that was
brainwashed
too.
to think that that would be a great thing for
Yeah.
someone like Jesus to exist and have done that for all of us.
Right, and that thought crossed my mind, the Jesus complex, but, of course, but, I just think that it changed, when we started talking about that, it changed that original question.
Right, yeah, I think that's an excellent point. And actually, Yvonne says when Alyosha answers about Jesus, he goes, I was wondering how long it would take you to find Jesus. But I'm going to give you Yvonne's response. And Yvonne said, if that is the world the Lord has made, then I will have to return my ticket. I cannot abide by that. And I agree with Yvonne. I can't do that. And this book that had finally given me the words to express what I felt emotionally, I was looking for an answer. And the fate of Yvonne is he goes mad. He goes mad because he can't reconcile this world. I don't want to go mad. That's what I want to avoid. So then what do I do instead? What can I do? Do you see this, this little bracelet that I have on my hand, or my arm? It says, all we've got to do is be brave and be kind. And my grandmother actually told me something very similar to that when I was younger. She told me, follow wherever your kindness leads. But I had to add the brave, because I don't have the courage that she did. She could do it without thinking. She was just thoughtlessly kind. With me, I'm a little bit more hesitant. Because that's the thing they don't tell you, is that love costs. If you give your love to somebody, they can turn you down, and they can rub it in the mud, and they can make you feel stupid for giving your love to them. They can make you think that the best way to live your life is to not reach out. Because people can be horrible to one another, even in the face of unyielding kindness. So why be kind? Why? I reread the book, and Father Zosima, in an earlier chapter, is asked, what is hell? And he replies, what is hell? I submit it is being unable to love other people. That's what I believe. I may not believe in heaven, but I do believe I can avoid hell here on earth by not closing down, by allowing myself to be vulnerable and to express that I love people that I truly love and to make room for more people. So I think about why I got a comparative literature degree. I got a comparative literature degree because the Brothers Karmazov reminded me to be brave and be kind and love even when it's difficult, even when you have no reason to. Love